Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Welcome to the May meeting for 2024. We have no apologies, so a full attendance this evening from councillors and a full public gallery, which is absolutely fabulous. So welcome to you all. It's great to see you. Please be advised that this council meeting is recorded. It is live streamed and will remain available to the public online. So you might want to bear that in mind if you're asking a question, a public question time, or at any other time. Councillor Wiley, could I ask you to do our acknowledgement of country and statement of values, please?
Absolutely. The Central Coast Council acknowledges and pays respect to the traditional owners of Lutruwita, the Palawa Pakana people. We acknowledge the Punala Pana tribe of this northern country, and in doing so, we celebrate one of the world's oldest continuing cultures. And our statement of values. Guided by the diverse beliefs, experiences and backgrounds of the people we represent, we strive to make inspired and respectful decisions today that will build a better tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item 1, attendance and apologies. As I said, no apologies this evening, so everybody is in attendance. Declarations of interest. Number 2, councillors and staff are invited to declare any interest they may have in any matter on this agenda. Declarations.
9.4.
Thank you, Councillor Carmichael. 9.4. Any others?
10.3.
10.3.
I declare a perceived conflict of interest in respect to the matter relating to agenda item 10.3, disposal of land, various properties. The nature of the perceived conflict is that my partner's parents live next door to the block of land in question. This is a perceived conflict of interest and does not affect my decision making in any way. Subsequently, I will remain in the council chamber and participate in voting on this item.
Thank you, Councillor de Cruz. Item 3, confirmation of the minutes. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion to that item? Thank you, Councillor Viney. Seconded, Councillor Smith. Any questions on the minutes? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Item 4 is the Mayor's reports. I don't have anything for Mayor's communications. A couple of things for the Mayor's diary from myself and others, I believe. So listed there was the Ulverston Poultry Club show, which I did not attend, so we will remove that going forward. Any other alterations to the Mayor's diary, please? Yes.
Just one thing, Mayor. It was actually the Ulverston Dawn service that I attended, not the Penguin Dawn service.
Thank you. Great. Noted. Any other amendments? No, that being the case, would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for that item? Thank you, Councillor Hiskett. Seconded, Councillor Lehman. I presume there's no questions. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 5.1, councillor communications. Councillors are invited to report individually around the table, where you can acknowledge or report on important events and community matters, including updates on your community or committees for which you represent council. Would anybody like to share any reports with us? Councillor de Cruz.
Yes, Mayor, sorry. The other weekend I attended New Horizons Come and Try Day, which was held at the Penguin Sports Complex. They had participants come up from Launceston and busload from Hobart, and they tried out T-ball, pickleball, indoor carpet bowls, card making, a Zoom intro. Yes, and I must say I pulled up a little bit sore the following day after stretching too much in playing pickleball, but it was a great day. It's so good to see so many happy faces smiling, and yeah, the participation was fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you for attending. Thank you for the report. Any other reports? Councillor Wiley.
Thank you. If I may, I'd like to just talk about the launch of the Red Bench project, and that I was honoured to represent council in opening that project. It's something that I wish that I didn't have to do. The numbers are terrifying. It's with violence against women, but I'm glad that as a council we are I guess doing this project to let people know that it's not acceptable within our municipality. It's not behaviour that we want to see, not just our municipality, but around the world. And I just hope that one day soon we won't have to take these stands against something that shouldn't be happening.
Thank you. And for those that are joining us online, whereabouts are the Red Benches located?
Yes, so there's one located in Apex Park next to McCarthy's Bakery, area. There's one in Leith, which is overlooking the Leith River. It's a really picturesque spot. And the other one is in Sulphur Creek. So we have got 3 dotted across the municipality.
Thank you. Any other reports?
I've got one more. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Apologies.
While it's spotlights on there. The other thing that I did attend alongside Deputy Mayor John Beswick was the Limitless Learning at the Hive, which was about a group of young, I think it's called the Young University, I can't remember what it's called, sorry.
Through UTAS.
UTAS, yes. But so it's basically primary school children, and they pinpointed different things around the Hive that would make it more exciting for young people to take part in the museum. And they just did a fabulous job just for this group of young people. There was one question that was asked of the kids there, and it was whether young people should have more of a say in things that happen around them. And there was a young boy, I think his name was Hugo, who was about 8, and he had a lot of wisdom on his shoulders, and he said, yes and no. I think it's really important for young people to have a say, but we need to have the old people there as well, because they are there to keep us safe and we come up with all the fun ideas. So I thought that was very wise of him to want to do that collaboration.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Any other reports? Councillor Beswick.
Thanks, Mayor. One of the items I attended on your behalf was the Northwest Christian School Assembly coming up a fortnight ago. And I'd just like to acknowledge Alaska Shermeyer, who was awarded an Australian Music Examinations Board Gold Award. This is a new award the AMEB has started and is based on performance and community engagement in performance. Alaska is 11 years old and is the first person in Tasmania to receive the Gold Award. Last year I was fortunate to attend the final assembly of Northwest Christian School, and I thought then that the musical talent that's coming out of that school was just absolutely amazing. And if anybody ever gets an opportunity to go to perhaps a performance or whatever, I'd thoroughly recommend it. But it was so special to see, to be there to present part of the award for Alaska. Yeah, the Northwest Christian School excels in this space. So congratulate her.
Indeed. Thank you. Any other reports? We're lucky to have a community of such talented and clever people. Very grateful. Item 5.2, councillor questions on notice. No questions on notice were received. Councillor questions without notice. So councillors are invited to ask any questions without notice at this time. Shake from you? No, nothing. Everybody is satisfied. Nothing for you, CEO. Which takes us to 5.4, councillor motions on notice, and no motions on notice were received. Now that takes us to item 6, petitions and deputations. 6.1, the receipt of the petition to stop the sale and future developments of land at Ashwater Crescent Park Reserve in Penguin. A report and a recommendation for you there, noting that any discussion on the outcomes of this petition will be done further on in the appropriate reports. At this point, all we are doing is receiving the petition. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution? So many of you. That's fabulous. Moved Councillor Carpenter, seconded Councillor Viney. I'm presuming there is no discussion on this topic. No clarifying questions? No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 6.2 is deputations. No request to address this meeting have been made. And item 7 is public question time. So at a time in between agenda items at or close to 6:40, council allows 30 minutes for public question times, and I can tell you more about that then. Which takes us to item 7.1, public questions taken on notice from the previous meeting. These items don't need any discussion. We're just simply receiving, and you are being provided with the written responses that were provided to those good folks who attended the meeting and asked those questions before. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item? Thank you, Councillor Hiskett, seconded Councillor Wiley. Motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion is carried. takes us to 7.2, public questions on notice. Questions from 3 members. Questions from 3 members of the public have been submitted to this council meeting. They'll be responded to at the commencement of public question time at 6:40. Item 8 is council acting as a planning authority. However, there are no matters for you to consider at this meeting as a planning authority, which takes us to item number 9, the Office of the CEO and Mayor, the Chief Executive Officer's report, which contains a number of attachments. And when you're ready, would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution? Thank you, Councillor Hiskett. Seconded, Councillor Beswick. Any questions on the report? Thank you, Councillor Hiskett.
Yes, just to comment on the new format of the agenda as well, which comes through the Office of the CEO, so quite clear and a bit more colourful, which is nice. But other than that, it's good to see that there's a continuing action on our roadmap to organisational excellence and cultural development plan, and things are continuing to move and progress forward, so I just appreciate that. Thank you.
Fabulous, thank you. Any other speakers? No, presume you don't want to close, Councillor Hiskett? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Takes us to 9.2, the public question time policy. So some recommended changes there to public question time. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for that item? Thank you, Councillor Lehman. Seconded, Councillor Diprose. Councillor Lehman, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, the last time this one was formally adopted was almost 20 years ago. So it was well overdue for a review. And the principles of this new policy have remained the same. It's to reinforce some standards and to provide some clarity around asking questions. So yeah, I fully support this new policy.
Thank you. Any other speakers? No, everybody's happy. Of course, that also moves the public question time to 6 p.m. or shortly thereafter at the beginning of the meeting. So if you're attending a meeting, you don't need to stay for 40 minutes before you get a chance to ask your questions. So hopefully that is easier to use for members of the public that want to nick in, ask a question, seek some information, and then leave if they need to. And we'll certainly be doing some promotion around that to make sure that after all these years of question time being at 6:40, that people know that it is moved to an earlier time slot. Councillor Lehman, I presume you don't need to close. No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 9.3 is the Central Coast Mental Health Care Alliance, the terms of reference. You've been provided with the terms of reference and the membership I emailed to you today, or those that had attended those first couple of conversations. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for this item? Thank you. Councillor Wiley, seconded. Councillor Hiskett. Councillor Wiley, anything you'd like to share with us about that?
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to sort of say what great pleasure I have in the fact that we are establishing Mental Health Alliance. Thank you for instigating that, Mayor Fuller. I know that it was something that you were passionate about doing from the very first moment that you came into your role, and I just think it's really great to get people that are already working so diligently in this space to come together under one entity so that they can work collaboratively together for better outcomes for our community.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Lehman.
Just wanted to point out that the Alliance is not going to replicate any of the work that's currently done by the organisations. It's just simply to serve as a way to connect and to strengthen what we've already got on the North West Coast. And reiterating what Councillor Wiley just said, congratulations and well done for starting this off.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other speakers? Councillor Beswick.
Yeah, just briefly, I concur as far as the mayor goes, but I'd also like to thank the organisations that have been involved, because in the end, collaboratively, it should benefit our whole community. So I'd like to thank those for taking the time out to be involved as well.
Great leadership from all of them. Anything else? No. Councillor Wiley, anything to close? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 9.4. Thank you. Your interest, Councillor Carpenter. Thank you. 9.4 is a motion for the general meeting of the Local Government Association of Tasmania to push for legislative reform in relation to wild and nuisance pigs. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for this item?
Is that Mayor?
Councillor Beswick, thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor DeProse, thank you. Councillor Beswick.
Thanks, Mayor. Got some notes here to make sure we cover everything off. Since 2021, council has been navigating the issue of roaming pigs within our municipality. In one instance, pigs clearly under private ownership were roaming outside their own boundary, and they created significant damage to the environment, council property and private properties. As councillors are aware, there have been years with no action due to the lack of clarity about which agency or level of government and what enforcement measures and by whom these measures may have been created. In recent months, aided by state government agencies, local community and the property's owners, council has arranged rectification measures which seem to be working. Thousands of dollars have been paid with ratepayer funds for these rectifications, a debt which will fall to the property owner in due course. We acknowledge the input of Highland Conservation in sharing their deep understanding of the current barriers and the legislative reform required to enable our ability to control pigs roaming at large. The need for this reform is urgent as pigs are now living in the wild on our Tasmanian mainland and islands. They will breed up and become a much larger problem in the future if there is no action. It is vital that we have a statewide discussion about roles and responsibilities instead of trying to navigate this problem as we did as an individual council. I'd like to thank the Mayor for the work that she's done with this as well, and the CEO and the previous GM, because it's been something that's been ongoing for a while, and it's great that we've come to a resolution for now. So I commend this motion to the table, Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on this motion? Councillor
Just to
DeProse.
make a comment, Mayor, that it's good to see this being put forward because there are safety issues around pigs that, you know, especially big pigs that walk out in front of cars and everything, people on, you know, motorbikes, etc. So yeah, it's really good that we're trying to find a way in which this can be dealt with a bit of force around to actually make sure that people actually do the right thing in future.
Thank you. Councillor
I'd just like to say this is an issue that has been dealt with by the council, but in dealing with it, we've found that it really is a state issue and therefore should be dealt with by the state. So what we're doing is recommending that it going through that that method.
Thank you. Anybody else? No. Councillor Beswick, anything to close?
I don't think we need anything else to close, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Councillor DeProse, could I impose on you to ask Councillor Carpenter to come back in? Sorry?
Yeah.
Well, that would be unkind. Thank you. That takes us to 10.1, which is the financial report. A recommendation for this agenda item was not included in this report due to an oversight. So I ask the councillor to move a motion to receive this month's financial report, and the recommendation would be that the council receives the financial report for the period ending 30th of April 2024. Moved by Councillor Viney.
That's exactly what I've got in front of me.
Great. Sorry, my error. Thank you. Councillor Viney, seconded. Councillor Wiley. Councillor Viney, did you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, I'd like to just reiterate that every month it appears as though the reports become clearer and fuller in what we have. And I'd like to congratulate Director Sam on putting that together, her and her staff. It's an excellent report and very, very easy to read and comprehend. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers to the financial report? Councillor Wiley.
I would also just like to comment on that these reports are becoming more transparent. And I think one of our focus points as in this council is transparency and accountability. And I feel like these reports are very easy for anybody to read. So the fact that anybody from our community can pick up this and be able to understand it in a really clear and concise way is fantastic. So well done to the team.
Indeed. Any other speakers? Councillor Viney, did you wish to close?
No, thank you, Mayor.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.2 Procurement Policy and Code for Tenders and Contracts. You've been provided with the report and the documents. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for this item? Councillor Wiley, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Beswick. Councillor Wiley, did you wish to speak to this?
Sure. So again, this is another document that I think provides our community with accountability from council. It's something that is a little bit more detailed in the way that our staff will have to make sure that that they get the extra, that there's a system for them to work through with this document as well. So again, it's just another step towards better transparency and accountability from council.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Hiskett.
As with all policies, the proof will be in the, I'm going to say, putting with the usage of the policies. And that is, I think the policy is no more robust than the users that use it. So I know the CEO is well aware of that and will endeavour to ensure that the council staff follow this. And it would be nice to have an updated, good, fresh, shiny version to show staff to ensure that it gets followed. Not that there's any suggestions of impropriety, but that good policy dictates good governance.
Good. Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Beswick.
Just to follow on from the other comments, Mayor, coming in from private enterprise into council, you don't realise how much policy and paperwork that's required in this organisation. And I was thinking when I was reading through the agenda over the last couple of days that in the end our staff must spend so much time doing their paperwork and so forth that we sometimes wonder, why haven't perhaps some of our jobs been done? But to be transparent and to be to do the right thing by the money that's being spent by the community, it needs that time to be able to get through all that sort of work. It was good to hear from Director Searle that there's going to be probably an app or a computer program that's going to be able to make it a bit easier for the staff to be able to get through some of these processes, which is really good because in the end, it's all about being transparent and getting everything done. But happy to support the motion there.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Wiley, did you wish to close?
No, I think everything's been said. Thank you.
Thank you. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.3 Disposal of land, various properties. Is there a councillor who wishes to move the suggested resolution? Councillor Smith?
I would like to move as a recommended resolution, Mayor, albeit with an amendment, so that the Richardson Street parcel as well as the Ashwater Crescent parcel is retained.
Is there a seconder for Councillor Smith's motion? Thank you. Councillor Lehman. Councillor Smith, did you wish to continue?
Yes, thank you. There has been a lot of interest, especially from the local residents of this area. I believe that in retainment of this piece of land is compatible with the Central Coast Youth Strategy of 2018-2023. And I quote, opportunities and facilities to gather and participate in recreational activities and cultural experiences. This land is and can be used and will be used for such activities. I've inspected this piece of land personally and have met with some of the local residents who are keen for it to be retained as an open space area. It is my opinion that it will and does provide an alternative for our youth to leave looking at their screens, to get out there and enjoy the area safely, playing games, etc. Indeed, I have been advised by some residents a cricket pitch is often mowed for that purpose. In some small way, the retainment of this property may assist the mental health and well-being of the community in that area. As a whole, fellow councillors, I seek your support for this motion, and Mayor, I commend the motion.
Thank you. Any other speakers to the amended motion? Councillor Heskett.
Thank you, Mayor. I speak to the main, the general concept of the motion as well as to the amendment. I'd like to thank the councillor for the amendment. I think it's shown through the representations for that particular property, the petition, which although didn't meet the standards, still had 42 signatures to it. I think this is the whole point of this piece of work was to gauge public opinion on these pieces. It was unfortunately perceived as to say we want to get rid of them. It was to say, do we want to get rid of them? Which is a very different question. And I think it's shown very strongly through the work done by the locals in the Ashwater Crescent area. What can be achieved with the power of public voice to sit there and to show that it was an area that was widely used. And I think that's reflected in the council's decision to listen to the community there and ensure that this area is retained. And I think there's good value in Councillor Smith's comments regarding the Richardson Street area as well. Happy to listen to further debate on that particular point and note that there is other space in that area too. However, I think the point of this is to listen, to hear, and to ensure that there's reasonable usage. And the best thing that might come from this is that these areas might be used even more now because people, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. So it's a good opportunity for people to continue to use them. So hope to see many events in the areas that have been retained, and hopefully, recognising the reason why we've done this is because some of those areas are not being utilised and it's been recognised as such, and so therefore it is good governance policy of council to dispose of them appropriately. So onwards for the next element for those parcels, and good to see the parcels that have that community spirit retained. So thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Wiley.
Thank you. I'd like to concur with everything that Councillor Heskett has said, but just to add to that as well, that it would have been remiss of us as council to not know what we had, what was valued, whether the ratepayers' money was being spent in the right areas. We needed to know as a whole across Central Coast what we had, what assets needed renewing, all of that. Could we have got the messaging better? Most likely. I think that there were legislative requirements that we had to start this process and have it advertised in a particular way. But as Councillor Heskett said, it was never our intention to do any of it without public consultation. So this process, it has worked. We've heard loud and clear from lots of people in the community. It's actually been a learning process for me, being fairly new to the table and a little bit heartbreaking in some ways, because we are all at the table, certainly not for the money. We're here to do the right thing by our community, and we want to hear more representations from people in the community on all of our changes that we want to make, because we are here to represent the community. So I really appreciate and thank everybody who has passionately shown that they do value their open spaces, the health outcomes, the safety concerns, every angle that people spoke to us on was very valued. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Viney.
Yes, I'd just like to say I support Councillor Smith's recommendation with the amendment. I believe the council has gone through the proper process in respect of this thing and discussed these various areas. And with that, we have community consultation, whether it comes back via the press meetings or petitions. That is the way that the public can express what they want within these things. And in that, I agree that there's sufficient interest to actually keep Ashwater Crescent and Richardson Street as property of the council, and I just think it's premature action to dispose of Richardson Crescent at this point in time. Richardson Street at this point in time.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Beswick.
Yeah, again, thanks, Councillor Smith, for putting up the alternate motion. In the end, with all motions, as councillors, we listen to the debate and change or perhaps think about the different views before we come to a vote. I probably will support the motion. Having said that, just a few things. As Councillor Wiley mentioned, we're here to use the community's money in the best way possible for everybody in the community. And the reason that at times we need to be looking at what facilities, not facilities, but land that we've got that isn't being used, it's a way of, and some might not like the term, but of raising some revenue to be able to be spent in the community on other areas. The example I'll probably use that the community is always looking, not always, often looking for upgrades in the facilities we've got. I'll use the Penguin Park, the Penguin Playground has just been done for recently, where in the end the people were keen to have a cover over the playground. So every time that we do more new infrastructure, there's more and more that people are requiring of us as a council, which means us as a community. And when all these things are required, it you know, the money's got to come from somewhere. Nowadays, compared to 40 years ago, 50 years ago, when some of these parcels of land were put up, probably the, I was going to say the transport, but the access to other areas wasn't probably as good as what it is now. And I think the community's probably looking more for destination type spaces, and that's a way of us as a council using some of that money from this land to be able to be invested into the other spaces to perhaps make it a little bit more attractive. But listening to the debate and also having a phone call about Richardson Street in the early part, I'm happy to support the Richardson Street being kept as well. That doesn't mean that it can't be looked at again in the future, like any pieces of land. So I'm happy to support that, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Carpenter.
Thanks, Mayor. I completely thank Councillor Searle for putting us through this process, because you know, every 4 years we're elected to council. There's new councils come on board. There's new staff. There's new CEOs. So processes continually change, and we're updated. And some of these parcels of land that are still sitting in our area, I wouldn't even have a clue they're there anymore, whether they've gone, come through, or whatever. So we must continually update what we do own as a council, what belongs to the people of Central Coast, and make sure we use it properly. And I think the process has been done right. It's legislatively done right, which is, even in my terms, it really does annoy the insides out of me having to go through all that sort of stuff to get this outcome. But it does create interest. And it does. It does create interest. If it was done really, really soft, you mightn't have got any interest at all and could have slipped through the basket at one of another term. What impresses me about the pieces of land, and it's something you forget about when you grow older, especially the Ashwater Crescent one, not so much the Richardson Street one, and I thank Councillor Smith for that, but the Ashwater Crescent one is just a piece of land that's flat and it's basically like a paddock back in the country. There's not really a lot of need for you know, $500,000 swing sets and everything else like that, because the lay of the land allows kids to be able to do so much. just with a piece of hardboard or a billy cart or whatever, back to the old fashioned playing and use open space. And actually, when you sit out on that parcel of land there, and I think we forget how much open space in certain areas is what it's really worth to the community. There would be not many better pieces of land that overlook Penguin as much as that one at Ashwater Crescent. And as I was talking to one of the directors earlier, for the life of me, how it's never been developed 40 and 50, 60 years ago, it amazes me that someone did put pressure on. Thank golly they haven't done. So, you know, along with what Councillor Smith has put forward, totally endorse that. The right outcome for Ashwater Crescent. Once you sell open space as such, you never get it back. So it's got to be done right. I totally believe this has been done right. I totally believe in the petitions we've got back to let us know and to inform us that there is X amount of people still living in that area that use that. And without that, we wouldn't have known. We would have made incorrect decisions. Totally endorse what council has done. Endorse the alternate motion and onwards and upwards.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Lehman.
Yes, just to add another comment, I just wanted to thank the community for providing all the commentary and representation so we could get a good read of the room and understand how you're all feeling. It's no mean feat to put 443 signatures or whatever it was together. So the time and effort that went into that is well done to everyone involved.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor
I do not want to repeat what everyone else has said, but I do want to thank Councillor Smith for putting the amendment to that motion.
Thank you.
Am I
Councillor
allowed to have
Wiley.
a stab or not?
No.
I missed something in my commentary. Okay.
You'll just have to save it for another time. I think that is everyone spoken that wishes to speak. Councillor Smith, did you wish to close the
Thank you.
discussion?
Yes. I would like to thank councillors for their contribution around the table tonight. I don't believe that there's been any sufficient opposition to negate my motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Which takes us to 11.1, development application determinations. A schedule has been provided to you. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for this item? Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Carpenter. Thank you. Any discussion or questions, Councillor Beswick?
I think it's all pretty straightforward. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 11.2, statutory determinations. Would a councillor care to move the suggested motion for this item? Thank you, Councillor Hiskett. Seconded, Councillor Viney. Councillor Hiskett, any questions? Questions from the table? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Moving on to 12, infrastructure services. So item 12.1, the schedule of infrastructure services determinations being provided to you. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for that item? Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Lehman. Councillor Beswick, any comments or questions?
It's all very straightforward, Mayor.
Thank you. Any
you.
questions from the table? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried, which would take us to 12.2, but I think I will pause at this point and move to public question time, if that is okay with everybody.
Yep.
So just a reminder that the meeting is recorded, and if you're intending to ask a question, please note the following procedures. So a maximum of 2 questions may be asked. Questions relating to a matter on the agenda that's not yet been considered are not allowed, but we're nearly at the end of that. We do ask that you stand and come forward to the end of the table where there is a microphone there for the purpose of our streaming services, and just state your name and where you are from. If we can answer the question tonight through myself or the CEO, we will. If not, we'll take it as a question on notice and come back to you. And you're reminded that questions will be recorded in the minutes. And as I said, that the meeting is live streamed and publicly available. First, I think, though, we go to yourself, CEO. Public questions taken on notice. Ones that you have there with you.
Madam Mayor, people excuse me, I might be standing to read these. Mr. Jamie Smith submitted 2 questions on the 15th of April 2004 council meeting, which were not read aloud during public question time due to an oversight. Mr. Smith was advised he was cool with that. He just wants me to read them out tonight. His first question is, and I'll quote, the council March 24 e-newsletter contains an article detailing where the council met with Harvest Moon 4 farm executives, and they also talked about how our council could work collaboratively with other councils in the agricultural sector to identify infrastructure issues and ways to assist with planning and advocacy. The question is, what specific infrastructure issues are identified in the Central Coast Council municipality? The answer is, council is an assets-driven business. Some of our assets were created or introduced many years ago. As time goes by, the infrastructure set in place to cater for the existing community can become problematic with unanticipated growth. In this case, our road network is not conducive for long-term use by multiple heavy articulated vehicles from a commercial activity in a largely rural residential setting. Council seeks support to support growth of businesses right across our municipality, while at the same time ensuring the safety and amenity of our community. As we plan for future growth with our council will regularly engage with all major economic stakeholders across Central Coast to create an economic environment which business and industry can thrive in. Mr. Smith also has then asked, the council March 24 e-newsletter contains an article detailing where the council met with Harvest Moon. Same thing again. But this one is, what specific ways exist or can be implemented by Central Coast Council to assist with planning and advocacy? And the response is, economic activity does not stop at each council's boundaries. Council's decisions can impact upon neighbouring councils and their communities and businesses. Central Coast Council has taken a proactive regional approach to ensuring sustainable growth of the very special place we all call home. Sharing ideas and or proposed plans with our neighbours is not only logical but also imperative in sustainable regional planning. Central Coast belongs to a complex group of interconnected economic communities across the Northwest Coast and does not exist in isolation. Consistent strategic planning and advocacy at a political level improves regional relationships and is the cornerstone of our economic capacity building. The infrastructure that connects these communities is important to every Tasmanian who relies upon it. Madam Mayor, if I can continue, Mr. Darren Briggs also submitted a couple of questions. And his first question is this. The iconic dial range, the jewel in the crown of the Central Coast, is in part gazetted to be Clearfield. Theme 3 of Council's draft strategic plan is environmental focus, which includes focusing our commitment to protecting and preserving our natural resources. The dial range exhibits many natural values and provides opportunities for tourism, recreation, exercise, relaxation essential for our community's health and economy. Central Coast Council has received $7.5 million in federal funding to upgrade Ironcliff Road to the Dial Range car park, with Council contributing approximately $2 million towards the project to increase community access. Yet just 2.5 kilometres further along Ironcliff Road is the start of the forestry coupe DL011A-20, 20 hectares in size, and further along the road again is forestry coupe DL10117, I should say, 25 hectares. The question then, what action and advocacy will Council take to protect the social, economic, health and natural values of these two coupes and the Dial Range against clear felling and native forest logging? My response is Council is aware of the recent community concern and social media activity regarding Sustainable Timbers Tasmania proposed areas for harvesting within the Central Coast. The Council's Chief Executive, myself and Mayor met with Sustainable Timbers Tasmania in early April 24 to better understand any issues and impacts associated with the proposed harvesting sites in the Central Coast. Following receipt of your question, the Council again reached out to Sustainable Timbers to seek information relating specifically to the two Dial Range forest coupes you refer to. Sustainable Timbers' response will be provided to you in writing and recorded in the minutes of this meeting. From Council's planning approval perspective, clearing of vegetation of more than 1 hectare requires a forest practices plan in accordance with the Forestry Act. A forest practices plan is a legal requirement which overrides the requirement of council issued permits under the Land Use Planning Approvals Act. A forest practices plan is subject to a public consultation process which includes a 30-day representation period between the notice of intent to commence planning and the notice of intent to commence harvesting. The council will consider all relevant information prior to determining how we may represent the committee in this matter and urge any committee members with the concerns relating to the prospects or the process or impacts of forest harvesting in Central Coast to contact Sustainable Timbers Tasmania directly. So I keep going. I'm chewing up all the paper from Sustainable Timbers. The next question I have is from Margaret Longmuir Penguin. And she states, I refer to prior correspondence 20th April 21, re-proposed development on the property adjoining where I live, 9 Walton Street, Penguin. I moved into my home in March 2020, the property having been purchased approximately 12 months earlier, but due to extensive necessary renovations, it could not be occupied earlier. At the time of purchase, there was notice of development re 2 Airbnb units on the adjoining blocks, address 14 Mission Road. I had no objection to the plan shown. Instead of this development, which I believe was approved, it did not go ahead. The home on that block instead had a garage, sunroom, deck added. I was told by the owner that the height of the roof was the same as was in existence, which was a flat roof. I had my builder go and ask the owner about this, and he was assured that the new addition would indeed be level of the existing roof. Instead, no one being advised, a tall gabled roof replaced the flat roof, thus impinging on the view of my home and those of my neighbours. An objection was raised with council, but we're told there was nothing that we could do as it was a private renovation. So be it. Speaking with the owners, I was told that they were not going ahead with the 2 Airbnb units. Much activity on the property, and I have been told that they are now going ahead with the units again. So no notification received here. I thought that a building permit was for 2 years. However, I've been here 5 years, all told, and the building is ongoing, and more importantly, nobody that I know of, neighbours, have been told a thing. Surely it's common courtesy, if not required, that those close by should be made aware of and perhaps voice an opinion as to what goes on. Once I inquired at the council office about the length of time permit was granted, I was told that plans have been changed so another 2 years. Doesn't sound to me as if the building is regulated at all due to health reasons. I cannot attend the council meeting, but I would like this matter investigated. I care about things. The answer to Margaret, Madam Mayor, is in relation to 14 Mission Hill Road, Penguin, a discretionary development application for residential use, a deck, a sunroom, and replacement of ancillary dwelling was approved by council in August 2018 and was subsequently refused following an appeal to the then Resource Management and Planning Tribunals. In June 2019, council approved a permitted development application for residential use, a deck, sunroom, and retaining wall. While this decision was also the subject of an appeal, the tribunal upheld council's decision. In May 2020, council approved a discretionary development application for residential use, ancillary dwelling and retaining wall. No representations were received during the public notification period. The applicant had 2 years from the date of issue in which to substantially commence the development, and that has not occurred. That has occurred. Any further inquiries can be directed to a director.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Quite lengthy this time.
No, that's okay. We understand, but they are questions are important to members of the public, so it's appropriate that we spend time listening to those questions and responding accordingly. Now to open it up to any member of the public who's in the gallery that would like to ask a question or two, we would welcome your question. Yes, hello. You can just thank you.
The microphone.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you. Just state your name and where you're from. That would be great.
My name is Val Chollis-Faster. I'm a new resident of Ulverston.
Welcome.
6 months ago. I cycle everywhere, cycle here. And about a month ago, I sent a question in writing to the council asking whether council has any plan to mark bicycle lanes within the town. I'm aware of development of tourist bicycle lanes, paths, which are great towards Latrobe and Devonport, etc. But I'm commuting on my bike everywhere, go to the shop and whatever. And I think that given the main roads in the town are wide enough, for example, Main Road and Eastland Drive, etc., that just painting a bicycle lane on those big roads, which are a little bit scary, even though they're wide, because cars go decent speed and kind of, I feel like a little vulnerable insect really. But once the bicycle lanes are there, I feel like I have a little bit of right, and also reminds the drivers, I think it increases security of cyclists. Reminds the drivers that cyclists do exist, because a lot of drivers, you know, this is a kind of youth empire, I would say, in terms of driving, and all-wheel drive empire, and cyclists are rare for what I can see. Whereas the town itself being a tiny, small, sorry, I came from Melbourne, being wherever I am on my bike, I'm 10 minutes from anywhere in town. So really, it's very easy to cycle to anyone, people of different abilities. It's flat. It's really, really suitable for cycling. I think that would encourage more people to do that. Sorry about the long question.
No, that's fine.
Sorry, the answer I got first was a very unclear answer, didn't really answer my question. Then I repeated my question, got an answer from another person who said that in the near future, council has, together with state government, some plans about it, but it was fairly vague. So I wonder if the council could give me a little bit more clue what near future is and what's the hope for that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for your question. Thank you for moving here, and thank you for cycling. I haven't seen the correspondence in question.
No,
CEO, did you wish to?
Certainly, thank you for your question. I'll take that on notice and I'll write back to you personally, so I'm not aware of your letter, and we'll get that the next few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mike?
Thank you very much. This matter, I didn't know the subject that was talked about. It concerns the feral pigs matter. And which general areas are these problems showing themselves more often than anywhere else on the Central Coast? Are they very much the whole area or in certain areas of the Central Coast?
Michael, the two that have caused us concern in recent years have been the Gunns Plains area and the Preston area. But more broadly, we know that there's a significant problem on Flinders Island and in the Waratah Wynyard municipality, and I'm sure there's plenty down south. We just haven't heard about them yet. But they are the two areas that we've been focused on here in Central Coast.
Oh, thank you very much. Would this also include South Preston as much as the Preston?
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your interest. Any other questions? Welcome. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Peter the Premier from Ashwater Crescent in Penguin.
Thanks, Peter.
Firstly, just like to commend the council and councillors for taking on board the community's concerns with keeping the park. Now, the community wants to start doing a consultative process to see what sort of upgrades and improvements we can do to that park.
Good.
But we know back in 2005 it was rezoned to residential. And to sort of go through this process, we want to make sure that it actually stays as a recreational park. So I suppose my question is, would the council consider rezoning it back to recreational?
Thank you.
And when could that occur?
Yeah, good. No, thank you. Thank you for your advocacy and thank you for your question. CEO.
Again, that is a possibility, and we certainly take that on notice, and I'll respond shortly.
Thank you. And as several of the councillors, and we certainly discussed it earlier about our hope is that now that there's been a reinvigorated interest in that piece of open space, it would be great to have a conversation about improving it. So we certainly welcome that conversation in its various forms. Thank you for your question, Peter. Any other questions for us this evening? No, there being none, we will return to the agenda. I'm just casting an eye just to see if there was anyone who wished to. Hello, gentlemen, come in. Come in. We were just about to return to the normal agenda, having finished receiving questions from the gallery, but question time remains open if by chance any of you had a question that you wanted to ask.
Yes.
Great. Well, whoever is asking the question, I would ask them to step forward to the end of the table, which is where the microphone is for our live streaming, and just state your name and where you're from, and you can direct your question to me, then I'll redirect it as necessary. Who's asking? Who's asking?
This is already me.
Thank you. Yes. Mr. Abood, would you stand to the end of the table, please? Perfect timing.
Yeah. Luckily. Sign of the times, got to put my eyes on.
Yes.
Last month, my arms weren't quite long enough. Thank you, Mayor. Dear Mayor, councillors and executive.
Sorry, sir, just for the purpose of the
Sorry.
recording, could you just state your name and where you're from?
Yeah, sure. Kevin Abood from Alberton.
Thank you.
Dear Mayor, councillors and executive. With the Central Coast Council being a body corporate or corporation, first question. One could assume that councillors are the directors and shareholders of the Central Coast Council Corporation. Is this true? And if not, who are the directors, executives and CEO of the body corporate? Second question, would the council and councillors please provide the community in their best interests with any constitutions, charters, assemblies, or any other entity associated with the council's body corporation, including any oaths, memberships and or affiliates, not exhaustive, the mayor, deputy mayor, councillors, general manager, CEO and executive staff have signed, agreed to or are bound to. Thank you.
Thank you.
These are on notice, sorry.
Thank you. Oh, that's fine. So, CEO, did you have any comments that you wish to make at this time, or are you happy to write back to Mr. Abood with a response? Thank you. We'll take those questions on notice. If Darryl, perhaps you could furnish the written. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, anybody else wish to ask a question? No, good. Just double checking there's no further questions from the remainder of you in the gallery. Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. We will resume the meeting. Where were we up to? We're up to 12.2, Greening Central Coast Strategy Guideline Actions. You've been provided with the guideline actions and we've workshopped it and we all know the story. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item? Thank you, Councillor Hiskett. So many hands. Councillor Hiskett, seconded Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Hiskett, did you wish to speak about the guidelines, please?
Yeah, thank you. As you mentioned, we've workshopped these and they've been in the process for quite some time, so it's good to see them finally come to fruition. Basically, what a lot of these are doing are just providing guidelines and ideas for people, so that when they are seeking new development or thinking about what trees they might plant in their local area, they've got some sort of idea of what to do instead of it being done in a haphazard manner. They are not stipulations; they are guidelines, and I think that should be made mention of. That this is just a. If you're doing best practice, we would love if you could ensure that the trees are kept on your property if that's possible, and if you plan to do that, here's the best way to do it. For the first one, and some of the other planning parts and things like that have different information in them, but again, it's not an impost, it's just a request, and I think it's a fair statement to ask to achieve our goals of the Greening Coast and Greening Central Coast policy that we put in place a year or two ago to increase the tree coverage, I think, to 30%. I think was what we were aiming for. So this might go some way towards that. To those that aren't interested, they can throw it out. But hopefully, some that hopefully will change the progress and procedure of some people to identify the importance of what they're doing. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers, please? Councillor Carpenter.
Thanks, Mayor, and concur with Councillor Hiskett. The guidelines for tree protection is one that's been sought after by councillors for quite some time. Even though it is guidelines, it might just change the practice and the thoughts of people doing subdivision. And as council said, it's not an impost first up. You can nominate your trees that you want to see kept or whatever, and then move further on to the arborist. But when you look at some of our subdivisions around the place, if we'd only kept half a dozen trees in the strategic places, they would have been a lot of aesthetically better, more suitable to what we want to do, and a lot better for the occupants of a lot of them subdivisions. When you pull a tree down, something like a mature tree that suits subdivision, I'm talking about the old Knightons and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking about suitable trees. When you pull them down, it's another lifetime to replace it. So it's a lot easier to start first, save the ones that need to be saved. And, you know, there was a subdivision at Penguin a year or so back. If they'd have just left one more tree, you wouldn't have saw a couple of hundred square metres of white concrete. Would have made it so much better. So thank you for bringing that. The nature strip guidelines, I just want to mention on that again. That's a great one to bring up to speed again. And I think we've been sitting in the dark and people have been doing the right thing by us and doing their own nature strips and everything. But it gives clear guidelines now and a bit of ownership and you know, new home builders will know exactly what they're entitled to, what they've got to do, what's theirs, what's ours, and so forth. So they're good policies to have sitting there.
Indeed. Any other speakers? Councillor Wiley.
Thank you. I'd just like to acknowledge the working group that is mostly made up of volunteers that have spent their valuable time, their expertise on this. The fact that we're going to have a lot more native trees and 30% coverage by 2030 is aspirational, but it's something that we do need to do with all of the complex issues that are surrounding us at the moment. You know, climate change, sustainability, and future-proofing any street tree establishment program were things that were mentioned in this document. And I think they're all very important and hopefully well received by our community.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Beresford.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to endorse the this item. One concern, and not that it's necessarily against what any of the other speakers have said. I understand, and I'm pleased that it's a guide. I think subdivisions in the town locale, it's very much a struggle to be able to keep large trees. When we've got subdivisions which are more rural living and so forth, I think then there's more an issue there. These days, housing affordability is critical, and what's going to end up happening, not that I like it, is that the blocks of land are getting smaller and smaller. And for every block that a developer loses, you've got to basically add into the cost of the other blocks to be able to make everything stack up. So, as I say, I'm pleased that it's a guide. As much as I love trees in the right places, they're the right thing. Like we talk about solar energy and all that sort of thing. So some of the trees that are just in the wrong spot, so people can't even generate their own solar if we've got a large tree. So, as I say, I'm pleased with it that it's a guide and happy to support it this time. But that's just some of the areas where, in the end, too much could cause other issues in the future.
Understood. Thank you. Any other speakers? Oh, Councillor Hiscott, would you like to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. And you're quite right, Councillor Wiley. Aren't we lucky to have subject matter experts working with us these days to inform so much of our work. Moving on to 12.3, which is the request to develop a community garden at 2 West Shore Road, West Ulverstone. You have a report, you have the correspondence, you have a recommendation. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for this item, please? Councillor Carpenter. Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Rose. Councillor Carpenter.
Side of the river would have jumped on this. Mayor, this is a wonderful report to read. This is community doing it at its best and identifying an area that's more than likely not going to come back into its previous use, as we've discussed over the years gone by. And if everything can get ticked off in the way they want to run it and the structure that they look like putting in place and the involvement of people, and when we look down through their roster, you know, there's so many this week and whatever it is. This is one of these events and actions that will carry on for year on year on year. And it's also in an area where it's easily accessible by bike through the walking paths and bike paths, plus the other people from outside West Island. So really endorse this to the back teeth, as the old saying would go. I want to see this up and running and congratulate the proponents, because this is the type of community that you hope you've got all around our community. That these people stand up, see a place and have a solution. That area already fenced in, no wallaby problems. So
Yeah.
Totally endorse it, Mayor.
Thank you. Fabulous. Other speakers, Councillor Beswick.
Apart from what Councillor Carpenter just said about on the west side, but I didn't think, because I was reasonably close to the site, that I should perhaps move the motion. But I commend the people that have come up with the idea because I think it's excellent. Wallabies, to talk to my wife about wallabies, and she'll tell you what she thinks of wallabies. So yeah, it's great in that regard. I just think it's going to be, as you mentioned, the cycle pathway, people will be able to ride there, take their produce home, just to be a great community engagement area. So yeah, I think it's great to see this sort of use and stuff.
Fabulous. Thank you. Other speakers, Councillor Viney.
I'd just like to say what a wonderful idea. It's usage of a facility that is no longer being used for its purpose, but the purpose that it's got is a wonderful idea, and I wish them every success in the venture.
I'm sure they'll welcome you to come over and help pull weeds, etc. I'm sure you'll be a welcome volunteer. Other speakers, please. Councillor Diprose.
Yeah, I just want to say how much potential this program has got, when it's established and taken off, the cost of living and the cost of fresh fruit and veggies these days just seems to be getting dearer, and it's so much cheaper for families with not much money to actually go and buy takeaway food, which is a real shame. So to see something like this is great. Not only that, with the potential for seedlings and everything to take off for people to actually take plants home to grow their own veggies, or to go and give to somebody else who's doing it tough to teach them how to do it as well. There's just so many benefits for our community to come from this. So yeah, wish you all the best.
Thank you. Other speakers, Councillor Wiley.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to receive this, and to the proposal that was put together was very well done and very in depth. And I just thank the community for doing something like this. And I find myself in a position where I do get to say what I was going to say before, because it does relate to both. And that is, it's just so wonderful. There's always options to look at things with a creative lens and a different way of doing things. And I think that there's a lot to be said about community collaboration, working with council, co-contributions, all of those things. And I think that with everything, if we look at things with that sort of lens of how can we get something to happen, there's always more than one way to skin a cat. So I just think this is a really good example of that.
Great, thank you. Other speakers? Councillor Carpenter, do you wish to close?
I will do, Mayor. It's just a couple of things. When you sit and listen to other councillors and you sit back and you think about it, over the years sitting around this table, we spoke about food security. Over many years, we've looked at it and we've worked through workshops and basically come up with a blank canvas, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these people are sitting in the wind and put this wonderful presentation together. And it's sort of, even though it won't fix the food security in a heartbeat, but it gives the opportunity for everybody and anybody to go down there that might want to learn to grow their bit of food. And we could argue, as Councillor Beswick said earlier, I'm dead against the small building blocks. We could argue then that everybody should be like over in European areas, in the Dutch areas, that have enough room in your backyard to grow some vegetables. That's part of their housing policies. You should be able to maintain something. So the learning profile out of this going forward is intergenerational. And it's not only that, we look at the men's shed and the community sheds that popped up over the last decade or so. The social network and well-being of the people that's going to get involved, and they're going to be some older demographics to start it off with, gives them a purpose in life. Gives them something off to finish their life and be able to, transfer some of their knowledge down to the youth. So there are so many ticks in this. It's incredible. I don't know why we haven't thought of it after everything we do professionally. No, it's not a shot at our professions ourselves over the years. Why didn't we come up with this? It's there sitting in front of us, and it takes the community to do it. So well done, man.
Congratulations to them. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Fabulous outcome. Couple of great decisions tonight. Moving on to meeting closed to the public. So the recommendation is that the council by absolute majority close the meeting to the public to consider the following matters. Sorry. I beg your pardon? Would councillor care to move the recommended motion?
Second.
Thank you, councillor Beswick, seconded councillor Hisker to put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. The meeting is closed to the public at 7:10 PM. Thank you for coming. So nice to see all of you. Thanks for your work and your interest. We look forward to seeing many of you again.
No worries.